Hey everybody, this is TotalGamerJunkie. I want to welcome you all back to my channel. So in this video, I'm going to be going over all the hints that your character Belle, is brainwashed. Now, when you first play the game, when I first played it, I did get some hints as the game progressed that something shady was going on. But when I look back at it now, after I finished it, it really is clear to me. I can see, since we know the twist is that you're actually a Russian spy that was reprogrammed with MK Ultra to help kill Perseus and the other members of his team. Now, first I want to start with the name Belle. Okay, that is the name of our character, and it is the name that Adler gave to us. Now, why the name Belle? Well, the reason Adler chose Belle, at least in my opinion, is because of the brainwashing. You see, they couldn't interrogate you. Adler, Park, normal forms of interrogation weren't working. So they decided to use MK Ultra's brainwashing program in order to give you a new identity. And by doing so, you would believe that you and Adler and Sims are old friends, which would help you trust them and put you in a false sense of security. Now, during the brainwashing, when you finally discover what has happened towards the end of the game, you will get a flashback series, and you this is that's I believe it's the second last mission, or it's the third last mission. Um, During the flashback sequence, you constantly see and hear a bell in the flashback scene. I think that the bell is why Russell Adler decides to call you Belle, because part of the brainwashing involves the ringing of a bell. So that's just my theory. I don't know. He could have named you Belle for a different reason, but I do believe that the bell being used in brainwashing is why Russell Adler decides to call you Belle. Alright, so the next thing I want to talk about is the dialogue options. Now, immediately when you get free roam of the base and you talk to Russell Adler, there's a dialogue option that comes up that says that I'm struggling to remember the name. And you can also talk with Park as well and have similar dialogue options about your memory being hazy. Like, for example, you ask Adler if Park looks familiar. Like, consciously, you can't remember, but your subconscious remembers who Park is. She was there helping Adler with the brainwashing. But since your memory's been wiped, you can't remember, but somewhere deep in your subconscious, you do know. And when you go and ask Park if you've ever worked together, she comes up with an excuse depending on whether you're CIA, MI6, or KGB. And that's one of the things I love about this game, how depending on your alleged backstory, you get separate types of dialogue. It's subtle, but it's not subtle, they don't really have an impact on the story overall, but they're unique dialogue options, and I gotta say that's really one of the things I did like about this game. It's what got me replaying it. I wanted to explore different paths, see what dialogue choices happened if I chose different backstories and that. Alright, so now that that's done, we're going to move on to the next one, which is a television. Now, if you head past the evidence board, you come across a red room, which is for developing photos. And if you walk towards the end of the room, a TV flashes, and you end up seeing a Vietnam screen. Well, not a Vietnam screen. You see on the TV screen that there are flashes of the Vietnam War. And as you approach the TV, it ends up turning off. Now, I have noticed this only twice. The first time is right here in this opening mission. Well, in the first time you explore the safe house, not the opening mission. And the second time is in the East Berlin mission, where you have to plant the tracker in Krause's briefcase in order to track down Anton Volkov. And in his room, where you can find a code book, which is a clue that you need for one of the two side missions, you'll see again a TV screen flash with images of Vietnam. Now, I don't know if there are any more TVs out there. This is just everything I've noticed. I'm not saying I spotted everything, but there is a lot that I noticed, and which I want to cover in this video, because I haven't really seen many people make videos about the brainwashing, and it's probably going to be ironic when I upload this video, someone's probably already going to made a better one than this that's probably more that has better detail and dives into it more. But you know, I hope you all enjoyed this video nonetheless. Alright, now let's move on to Russell Adler when you go to leave the Red Room. So as you're leaving the Red Room, you can see, if you're looking carefully enough, you can see Adler poking his head out and looking at you. And then once he sees you, he just walks back to the table. Why does he do this? Because you have been brainwashed by him and Park in order to be their ally to hunt down Perseus. And while Park says the brainwashing was a success, he still has his doubts. So, and plus the room that you go into, if you look at the cutscene where it's revealed to you who your character actually is, there are times where the scenes are red, and if you compare it to the Red Room in the safe house, it is very similar to the interrogation in the flashbacks. And also, with the cage door that you can unlock, which gets you the ambush, which unlocks the ambush option for the bad ending, you can actually see Russell Adler also watching your movement as well. I just found this out yesterday, actually. So yeah, you can tell that Russell Adler, he's pretty sus. He knows not to trust you, but he knows he has to trust you to lead you to Perseus. So what's the word? It's like a double standard. He doesn't trust you, but you're the only one he can fully trust for the mission. But anyway, the next one we have is the activation phrase. We have a job to do, we had a job to do, and other versions of it. So I gotta say, I really did like the fact that they had added this in. It reminded me of the first Bioshock game with Jack's code phrase, "Would you kindly," which forced him to do anything a person wanted to after they said, "Would you kindly." Now, of course, it's not as powerful as your activation phrase is not as powerful as Jack's. All it really does is help you stay focused on the mission, keep you in line, and it helps activate the memories of Vietnam inside your head. Because and this is further explained as you get towards the end of the game. All your memories of Vietnam are implanted in your head. So, and what the activation phrase does is help bring those memories to the surface. At the end of the mission Fractured Jaws, you actually learn from when Hudson's talking to Black you learn how the memory exercise was a success.
Yeah.
How did the memory exercise go?
Well, to hear it from Adler, it's working. Bell remembered finding that encrypted intel in Vietnam and is almost finished decoding it.
How Bell really got the information was he had it on him in the mission in Turkey, and the floppy disk was actually in Arasha's possession. And after he was killed by Adler, they took that floppy disk from him. And the information that Bell supposedly got from Vietnam was actually with him when he was at the airstrip in Turkey. that's what the bloody handprint is you find on the folder. It was Bell's blood from when Aresh tried to kill him. Now, I gotta say, the blood on the folder was a bit strange for me, because I'm thinking, okay, you have this folder from 1968 and it's got a bloody handprint on it. It's like, wouldn't the blood be more faded, with less color? But I don't know, it just seemed a bit weird to me. And I also want to apologize if the screen seems a bit glitchy. That's just the way how the game worked for me. Sometimes the cutscenes just kind of got like frozen at some places. I don't know why. I hope there's an update that fixes it though. So the next thing on this list is the red door in Vietnam. Now, when I saw this red door, it immediately made me think of the trailer, and I got sus because that trailer was all trippy, and it was hinted at that there was mind games going on and something strange was happening like in Black Ops 1, and this led to a lot of theories and speculation. Now, if you were to explore the whole map of Vietnam, well, not Vietnam, Da Nang, if you were to look in all the buildings, the door being here really does not make sense if you look at the architecture and look at all the doors that are placed around in the mission. It's crazy, and I did not like. I knew that this door had something to do with the story, but I didn't really know what, because I remember seeing the door. I remember thinking to myself, "Oh, that's the same door from the trailer," but I had no idea what this door represented, which was Bell's darkest secrets, which Adler says were always hidden behind a locked door. So yeah, I gotta say this is really I really did enjoy this mission going to Vietnam. I especially liked flying the chopper as well. That was pretty cool. But we're not here to talk about the gameplay. We're here to talk about all the hints that the game gives us that you were brainwashed. So let's move on. Now, when you return to the safe house after the Fractured Jaws mission, well, after the flashback, you're still at the safe house. Adler will get a call. Sims will tell him he's got a call, and Adler will say, "Is it collections? I'll take it in the other room." Now, listen to this phone call.
What? You think everything's about you now?
That's one perspective. I thought it went pretty damn well. What did you think then? You always did have the most remarkable sense of humor. Right. Now don't worry, we're stocked. I've got enough to last at least a couple months. Did you just call me an optimist? I see. Well, you have yourself a wonderful fucking day, too. Bye.
Now, the person Adler was talking to on the phone was Hudson, and they were both talking about Bell. Now, from the way, it's only a one-sided call, so we only get to hear Adler speak. But when Adler says, "I thought it went pretty damn well," I believe he was talking about the activation of Bell's memories from the activation code, "We've got a job to do," or "We got a job to do," or "We had a job to do." Just that key, those certain key words to trigger Bell's implanted memories. Now, when you look in Adler's hand, you can see that he has a vial, and he says we're pretty stocked up. What is it he's stocked up on? The drugs that they use on Bell towards the end of the game. This is when they have you strapped down, and they get out, and he gets out the needle and he injects it right into Bell's brain, and that's when that whole freaky Vietnam scenario happens. And this isn't the first time the drug's referenced as well. Well, not referenced, but hinted at. We actually find out a little bit more about it, but right before the Cuba mission. this is when you have Lazar, Adler, Park, Sims, Mason, Woods, and Hudson. There you have them all in the safe house, and Park tells Adler she needs to talk to him alone. And as they're walking into the back room to talk, you can see that a piece of paper falls out of a folder that Russell is holding, and if you look down at it, you can read it. Now, I believe that this paper is written by Park because she has more knowledge about the dosage and the drugs, and she was the one to help Adler brainwash you, so I'm pretty sure this is her writing, and this is what she's put. March 11, usually long submersive period this morning. Perhaps exhaustion. Sticking with the usual routine despite A's insistence. Framework seems reasonably intact considering the circumstances. March 12th, lower dosage today. A doesn't need to know. Health, mental and physical is an ongoing priority whether he agrees or not. Who is A? A is Adler. Now, the thing here, health, mental and physical is an ongoing priority whether he agrees or not. The note is obviously referencing Bell, because it is Bell that needs to be healthy. He needs to be mentally and physically stable, because he's the only one that can locate Perseus. All the information that they've uncovered about Anton Volkov, about the list of KGB agents, none of that wouldn't have been possible if Bell hadn't decrypted the floppy disk and gotten them all the information. So it obviously makes sense that you don't want to increase the dosage, but the thing about lowering it is, I believe that that might be the reason why Bell gets those little flashes of the TV. They say that they wiped your memories, but maybe the drug helps keep your memories suppressed, and so that's why Bell can't remember who he is. It's not that they didn't wipe his memories; he still has his memories deep within him, as you saw when he figured out about Perseus and how he was at Solovetsky. So he still has his memories, they're just deeply buried inside his subconscious. They're not purged, he still has them. Now, when you go and talk to Adler after he gets off the phone, there are actually two dialogues. If you weren't watching him like I was in the window, then he would have said it's just collectors, just expense reports and all that. But if you were watching him through the window, the dialogue changes, and this is what he will say.
Bell, you're a spy, but let's keep it outside the building, not inside. Understand?
The next character we're going to focus on is Sims, and if you go over to him, you can tell him that you're sorry that you had to relive their mission in Da Nang. And now every time I see the response after completing the game, it gives more context to the meaning of the way Sims says it. Take a listen.
Yeah? Talking about that mission was tough for you too. Hell, I don't know what I'm saying. Of course it was tough for you. You went through that shit like everyone else.
Now, obviously, Sims knows you're brainwashed, but the response then, to me, it felt like he was just saying, it was tough for you too, it was like, when someone says, it was tough on everyone, don't act like you were able to get out of that situation unscathed. Well, that's how I interpreted it. But the way Sims said it, was like a question, because he knows that you're brainwashed. And when he says the question, he quickly comes up with another statement. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Of course, it was tough on you," because he doesn't want to arouse suspicion. So, if you're careful, and you can notice a few characters like Sims and Lazar, they will slip up. like Sims did it here, and Lazar, he actually does another slip up as well, but quickly says something else to, you know, change the subject, but give you a statement that's, you know, that seems casual, but really that he's just trying to cover his tracks, and I'll show you that one later. But right now we're going to move on to Park and listen to the hints of you being brainwashed from what she says. Now, when you go and talk to Park, you will ask her if she found anything other than the name Anton Volkov on the floppy disk that you decrypted. And this is what her response will be. Take a listen.
Well, you tell me. After we dug it up, you spent 2 full hours decrypting everything inside. You seem to think Volkov was the name to pay attention to. Are you feeling all right, Belle? That's one of the reasons we wanted you on this team. Not even the CIA's best cryptographers have been able to crack that dossier. You're special, Belle. But it also sounds like you need a nap.
So, you don't remember decrypting the files after Da Nang. And what is Park's excuse? You're just tired, go take a nap. The reason you can't remember that is because you didn't do it. You've been brainwashed, and rather than just focused on trying to remember decrypting the files that you get from Da Nang, you just brush it off and you just continue on with the mission. Like, because of the trigger phrase, we have a job to do, we've got a job to do, we had a job to do, just all those variants of the phrase. It's what's keeping you focused on finding Perseus, so you're really brushing off all this other stuff. Because the fact that you're brainwashed, you're not really focusing on, like, you're not thinking clearly, you're not thinking logically. When you're brainwashed, you have a set goal in mind, a task. Like with Mason, when he was brainwashed by Reznov, his primary goal was to kill Dragovich, Krivchenko, and Steiner. Bell's priority is to find Perseus. So, like Mason, Bell is so focused on finding Perseus that he's really ignoring all these red flags. Like, and that's a funny thing. I don't know if any of you know this, but with Black Ops, if you shoot Reznov in Vorkuta, you fail. You get friendly fire will not be tolerated, and you have to restart from the last checkpoint. But if you shoot him at any other time, like when you meet him in Kaesong, when you're in Vietnam, when you're on Rebirth Island, nothing will happen because he doesn't exist. You can throw grenades at him, you can shoot him, you can knife him. No friendly fire will not be tolerated option will come up. Now, I just want to clear this up real quick in case there's any confusion. The floppy disk I'm talking about is the one Aresh has on his body, because if you look back at the final scene with the information, when Bell regains his memories, he has that dossier. Well, not dossier, he has that file, he's got all that information, and there's a floppy disk in it, and then Perseus takes it. And then afterwards, when Perseus shoots Bell and you as Mason go and hunt Perseus down, like, I believe that they loot Arash's body and take the floppy disk, and they have Bell decrypt that, which has all the information on it. The reason I'm saying this is because I don't believe Arash would simply hand the folder back to Bell with vital information on it and then kill him. To me, that doesn't make any sense. It makes more sense that after Adler kills Arash, and after they find Bell, they search Arash's body, or they probably search it before looking for survivors and find the floppy disk and get Bell to decrypt that information along with all the information that's in the folder, file, or whatever that thing's called, that Bell has in his hands when he's shot. Now, the next hint you get that Bell is brainwashed is after he gets captured and is brought to Volkov. Now, what's interesting about this is Volkov is one of the people who's working directly for Perseus. And as you all remember, near the end of the game, when you finally learn the location of where Perseus is, which is Solovetsky, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, he was at the table there along. Bell was at the table with Arash and Perseus, Volkov, and one other person who I don't know who that was though. And I think that was the guy that Mason can kill in that side mission. I forget his name though. So just listen to the dialogue here. I'll show you a few dialogue choices and you will see how one in particular really raises a red flag.
Perseus has a large bounty on your head. I don't care about your questions. Unfortunately for you, it seems these friends of yours have other places to be, comrade.
Right there. Volkov calls you comrade. Now, the word comrade has many meanings. You can call a colleague a comrade, an ally a comrade, a close or best friend comrade. But in the Soviet Union, the word comrade is a title that you would use to address a fellow socialist or communist. Members of the Socialist or Communist Party often say this to one another. But comrade can also have other meanings, friend, ally. But the fact that he calls you comrade is also weird, depending on your choice of character design. Like, for example, I'm Australian. If I choose to play Australian, why is this guy I'm trying to kill call me comrade? Okay, because I've just killed all these guys. Why? It doesn't make any sense. Because he and you used to be allies, and what I think is happening here, because I'm not too sure, but I don't think Volkov knows you're brainwashed. What I think is happening is he believes that you were the one that killed Arash and all the other people at the airstrip, and you are working to bring him and Perseus down. And there's also another piece of dialogue that proves that Volkov knows who you are. This is right when you go to capture him at the door, and that if you don't shoot or don't capture him and listen to the dialogue for a bit, what he says proves that he knows who you are. But when you first play the game, you don't really listen to his conversation. You either capture or shoot him. And even if you do listen to it, it doesn't really make much sense at the time.
So, here we are. You and I. Go ahead. Take me out. It's what you are good at, is it not? What is the matter? I'm not sure if you can pull the trigger.
Now right there, it doesn't mean something at first when you listen to it, but when you finally realize who you are, and you realize that you and Volkov were once allies, the story here actually adds a bit more to the dialogue. When Volkov says, "Go ahead and take me out, it's what you're good at, is it not?" That is what Perseus says to you in the last mission, Ashes to Ashes, if you take the team to Duga. You see, when Adler asks you for a light, you don't have to give it to him. You can shoot him with your gun. And Perseus would say, "No mercy. I always liked that about you." And that's essentially what Volkov was saying. It's like, take me out. It's what you're good at, is it not? Which really says a lot about your character, Bell. When you worked for Perseus, you were a no mercy soldier. You just killed you didn't bother listening to people beg. You didn't try to bargain. You just kill them. And when Volkov tells you to kill him and that it's what you're good at, he's referring to your time as Perseus's soldier, his right-hand man, or whatever you were to him when you were working for him. Now, the next hint we get that Bell is brainwashed is in the mission Operation Green Light, Red Light. Or well, just green light, red light, but I like to think of all these missions as operations because in Black Ops 1 they were called Ops, and Black Ops 2 I believe they're also called Ops. But yeah, but you know, you can call them missions or Ops or whatever. Anyways, I'm getting off topic here. So in the mission red light, green light, but right before you find out Hudson knew the stolen nuke was American, you can come across two audio files. Now, the first audio clip is useless for this video, but it's also pretty interesting. But we're not going to focus on that. We're just focusing on the hints in this video, and it's the second audio file you want to listen to. I'll put it up so you can listen to it now.
I want to make sure you're committed, Hudson.
The play's been called. The ball's in motion.
Well, if the asset learns the truth...
You're worried about truth now?
I'm concerned about control of the asset.
If we can't control the asset, we end the asset. Game over.
And who is the asset? It's Bell. And Bell is the only one that knows where Perseus is. So that's what this whole thing is about, what Hudson and Black are talking about. They know that Bell is a KGB agent who worked for Perseus. Or maybe wasn't a KGB agent, but was definitely a Russian soldier who was working for Perseus alongside Arash, Volkov, and that other dude whose name I forget. So after all this, when you finish this mission, it will show a cutscene playing with Woods, Hudson, Mason, and Adler. And there's also a line of dialogue that Hudson says that also proves, well, sorry, not proves, that also hints at that Bell is brainwashed. So let's take a listen to that one.
That's what you do best, isn't it, Hudson? Manipulate people. Tell them your own version of the truth.
There is no truth. Only who you choose to believe. Adler knows all about that. Don't you, Russ?
And that, of course, is Hudson talking, not directly talking about, but he's mentioning the brainwashing that Bell went through, and how, in a mission of fact, and how it's what you choose to believe. Bell believes that he was in Vietnam with Adler and Sims. Bell believes that they're good friends. So that's what that line of dialogue is meant to reference. And I just want to say this, I really do enjoy the voice actor for Hudson here. I wasn't a fan of Hudson in Black Ops 2, like the voice. The voice is actually done by Michael Keaton, and I'm a fan of Michael Keaton, but his voice was too light for Hudson. So while I'm not a fan of the actors portraying Woods and Mason, I do enjoy the person playing Hudson. I think this person actually managed to nail his character, his personality, who he is, and that's really saying something. Because, you know, I know a lot of people, including myself, were disappointed that we didn't get Sam Worthington and James C. Burns to play Woods and Mason. But at least the way Hudson is, the way he acts, is just like he does in Black Ops 1 and 2, so yeah, at least there's that, because I know a lot of people, it's not just the voice acting for Woods and Mason, it's the way they interact, their portrayal, you know. To me, that feels a little off. But the game is, I do still enjoy the campaign. It's, to be honest, after the Black Ops 2, the Black Ops campaigns have sucked. Like, Black Ops 3, I have no idea what the hell happened there. And Black Ops 4 didn't even have a campaign. I mean, how can you have a Call of Duty game without a campaign? But anyways, we're not here to talk about campaigns. We're here to talk about all the hints that Bell is brainwashed. So let's move on. Now, when you finish the mission with Woods and Mason and Yamata, you'll hear Hudson and, well, you won't just hear it, you actually see Hudson and Adler having a fight. Adler wants to bring Bell to the KGB because he has the skills that Adler needs to get the names of sleeper agents in the KGB headquarters. But Hudson doesn't want that. He doesn't directly say it, but he's basically saying that you're a liability because if someone recognizes you at the KGB, then that's really going to be trouble. And I guess Hudson's also concerned about what happens if Bell starts remembering because it's not entirely clear if Bell has ever been inside the KGB building, but I believe he has, but I'm not too sure. And then after that, listen to what Adler's response is after him and Hudson finish talking.
I know you can do this. Hudson doesn't trust anyone he can't control.
Now, when you first play the game, that doesn't really raise any red flags, but when you finish the game and you find out that Bell's been brainwashed, it makes a lot more sense because Adler and Park use the MK Ultra on Bell to control him to bring him over to their side in order to stop Perseus. And speaking of team members, let's get to Lazar. Now, since I'm a KGB, and supposed ex-KGB, you can have a unique dialogue with Lazar. And he asks you if you've ever been to the KGB. And you get two dialogue options to choose from, which both lead to Lazar answering the same way. Take a look.
Hell no. KGB headquarters? Just between you and me.
And me.
And Sims. I hope I never get closer than pulling up in a car and picking you up. This has every chance of going tits down.
Up, man. Tits up.
Up, down. What's the difference? You're ex-KGB, right? You ever been in there? Sorry. I shouldn't even ask you things like that. It was a different life. Better left forgotten.
So right there, Lazar ended up slipping up, but he quickly got his head together and just came up with an excuse. Oh, nah, forget it. Because those two dialogue options alone, like, you can only get this if you are ex-KGB, and I thought that was a pretty cool thing to add. I love how they're, depending on your backstory, you can unlock unique dialogues. It makes the game worth replaying, as well as just seeing the alternate endings and all that. Alright, so now we're going to move on to Hudson again. Now, when you talk to Hudson, he's basically cold and distant to you because you were one of Perseus's men, and he doesn't want to share any information with you because of this. Now, we of course don't know this at the time, and when I was playing it, I really thought Hudson just had a stick up his ass, and I needed to progress through the game in order to get it removed, so he basically, lightens up a bit, because I found it weird. Okay, so Woods punches you in the face, and everything's fine between you two, but I come up, I'm being polite, I'm asking you a simple question, you're like, no, F off, Bell. That's because Hudson knows, despite his differences with Woods and Mason, he can fully trust them, whereas with Bell, he knows he can't trust him. And you can also find out some more interesting dialogue options with him later in the game as well. In the mission before you head to Cuba, this is when you're being debriefed. This is where you have Mason, Woods, Hudson, Adler, Park, Lazar, and Sims in the warehouse. Choosing this dialogue option will get an interesting response from Hudson, and what Hudson says is nothing nothing would make me happier than for you to personally be the one who kills Perseus. Not in those exact words, but it's the gist of it. Let's take a listen.
It's as good as it's gonna get. The intelligence community has spent years trying to track Perseus to a concrete location. This guy lives between the lines of recorded history. Nothing would put a bigger smile on my face than you personally putting him down.
And why would Bell killing Perseus put a big smile on Hudson's face? Because you were one of Perseus's most trusted allies. You, Asim, Volkov, and that other guy who I forget that dies in the in one of the side missions with Mason. So yeah, it doesn't really seem like much then, but yeah, looking back on it, when you finish the game and you go through all these dialogue options and choices, it does really just opens your mind and makes you see things more clearly. Like with Black Ops 1, where you discover Reznov wasn't alive at all, but he was a figment of Mason's imagination. It really does make you see the game in a different light, in a different contrast, if you will. Now, after you finish the mission in Cuba and save either Parker, Lazar, or let both of them die, Hudson will be talking to Black, and we get the cutscene where they talk about Bell, and how Hudson mentions that the science experiment was a goddamn failure. And what's the science experiment? It's you. You're the one that's been brainwashed to help the CIA track and kill Perseus.
Well, that was a goddamn fiasco.
You go in with the intel you have, not the intel you want. We paid the fucking piper down there.
You think this is Bell's fault?
I don't know whose fault it is. I just know that Perseus doesn't have a single fucking nuke. He's got dozens.
Millions of people are gonna die, and the United States will take the blame. You need to find out where he's planning to broadcast the activation signal.
How are we gonna pull that out of our ass?
Bell knows where it is.
Bell? This goddamn science project was a failure!
Don't count Adler out yet. The man has a deep bag of tricks.
And as you're approaching the end of the game, okay, like, because my mind was like, I was like, how the hell am I supposed to know where Perseus is? I'm so confused. I don't know what's happening. But yeah, that's where I'm gonna end the video here. I believe that's all the hints that we get that Bell has been brainwashed by Russell Adler and Helen Park. Now, I'm not going to say that's everything, but that's everything I noticed. And please let me know if I missed some little hints or clues in the comment section below. And if you like this video, feel free to leave a like or a comment. But if you didn't like it, then I just want to apologize. But I hope this video still helped you out nonetheless. That's the end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. This is TotalGamerJunkie, signing off.